Long before the most famous meat-eating dinosaurs such as T-Rex and Spinosaurus roamed the planet, other massive creatures claimed the role of apex predator. In the Triassic period, which stretched from 252 to 201 million years ago. During this period, life was recovering after the biggest mass extinction ever, known as the Great Dying. Lesser known than many of those massive meat-eating dinosaurs that dominated later periods of the Mesozoic era, Fasolasuchus, tenax, or Fasolasuchus for short, a nearly 10-meter or 32 feet relative of the early ancestors of modern-day crocodiles. Fasolasuchus is the largest representative of the Rauisuchians, which include creatures that claim the role of apex predator. For most of the Triassic period, the Rauisuchian lineage diverged greatly, leading to a huge array of animals, some enormous and others far smaller and quirkier. As such, what exactly a Rauisuchian is still remains somewhat of an enigma, says Marco Lendar, a paleontologist at the Brazilian Museu Nacional. Rather, it's a term used by paleontologists to gather up somewhat similar species that don't quite fit anywhere else in the taxonomic tree of life. It would appear that they do have some common ancestors, but the problem is most of these species are known from very incomplete specimens. Despite early evolutionary history remaining a mystery, these creatures are known to have particular traits in common. For instance, they evolved a unique hip bone joint that meant their legs were straight like pillars, giving them a common gait. Many also had 2 rows of osteoderm plate-like scales made out of bone that line their backs. Many of these creatures also walked on all fours, but some could have stood on their hind legs for short periods of time to capture prey. Fasolasuchus is unique among Rauisuchians in that it's the only one that possesses a single row of dorsal osteoderm scutes, where others like Fasolasuchus may have many. Fasolasuchus lived 220 to 205 million years ago during the Britannian stage of the late Triassic. Found in northwestern Argentina, the Fasolasuchus is known from only 2 incomplete skeletons, including a skull equipped with long, curved, and serrated teeth. A study on the bone microstructure determined that the Fasolasuchus had a relatively fast growth rate, similar to most other Rauisuchians, with the exception of Pertusuchus. The same study also determined that the specimen was skeletally mature, but it wasn't possible to determine sexual maturity. They possibly weighed as much as 3 tons and massive jaws not dissimilar to that of large theropods. They put these jaws to good use by hunting large herbivores. One study focused on another species of Rauisuchian, Fasolasuchus galeni, which was also discovered in South America, suggests that its bite force was relatively weak, equivalent to that of a modern-day gharial. This means it may have bitten down on softer tissue rather than bone, according to the study. Whether or not this applies to all species like Fasolasuchus is not yet known. Other studies indicate that Rauisuchians may have eaten one another either after fighting or scavenging. Ultimately, however, creatures such as Fasolasuchus played a massive role as apex predators, sharpening Triassic ecosystems in which they ruled supreme. Along with the results of fieldwork, there is a reevaluation of a lot of Triassic fossil finds underway that were locked away or forgotten in museum drawers. The Triassic era ended with another small extinction event which ultimately wiped out the likes of Fasolasuchus and the other Rauisuchians, paving the way for the rise of greater dinosaurs.